Hey, podcaster. I'm Tim Alberg, your podcast performance coach, with another actionable tip so you can grow your authority, generate leads, and convert with ease. Today's tip is get better at interviewing to make your podcast unmissable. I bet you think that good podcast interviews are all about good questions. Well, what if I told you that great interviews happen between the questions? On today's episode, I want to share 5 tips that will make you a better interviewer. These are some of the best practices for podcast interviews.
Oh, but Coach Tim, your show's called Just One Tip.
I know, but you're going to get 5 today, and you're going to love it. One of your greatest skills you can develop as a podcast interview is to shut up and listen. It's great to have questions and be prepared for your interview, but if you don't want that interview to sound cookie cutter, then you need to participate. I mean, actively listen. As in, don't be thinking about what your next question or comment is going to be as your guest is answering your question. Listen, lean in, get curious. This is the only way you are going to discover the gold. You know, those little nuggets that come from asking follow-up questions, challenging your guest, or asking them for an example or story. The trick is to know when to chase that curiosity and when to stay the course. You can't pull on every thread or your interview is going to be disjointed and probably way too long. You want to keep the flow going, which brings me to my next tip. Number 2. Don't interrupt too much. Sometimes interrupting can be compelling or even helpful for your listener, but don't make a habit of it. If you interrupt too much, it can make the guest annoyed, which will lead to the conversation getting uncomfortable, and it can make your listener feel frustrated. Speaking of the listener, keep them in mind when you are doing the interview. If your guest says something that your listener might be curious about, want more information on, or clarification on, ask. This is number 3, the third tip for being an awesome podcast interviewer. Represent your listener. You will have your listener wrapped around your finger if you always seem to ask exactly what popped into their head or exactly what they didn't know they were curious about. I love this when this happens while I'm listening to a show. I usually yell out,
Thank you. I was waiting for that.
and your audience will love it if you identify them in your question as a way to frame the question. For example, you might say, my listener has toddlers at home, so they don't really have time to do what you're suggesting here. How can they fit it in? You're letting your listener know in that moment that you're doing this interview for them. They will love you for it. This is why it's so important for you to know who your listener is. And that is a completely different topic. Now, the 4th tip might not feel like it's about interviewing, but it is. Edit. Knowing that you can and will edit shifts how you conduct your interview. When you feel a guest has wandered off in left field, you can relax knowing that you can and most likely edit it out. And you can frame up the next question without referencing the crap you'll be cutting out. Structuring that re-entry question is a very important skill to have, and it will make your editing process a lot easier, and nobody will know that you cut out a 10-minute diatribe. Just be careful not to over-edit. You still want it to be natural. Which leads me to my 5th and final tip. Let there be silence. There is so much value in a pause. It might be comedic, awkward, or heartbreaking. Leaving pauses in can help you maintain the emotion of the conversation. It does an amazing job of pulling your listener in or pulling them back in. There is nothing like a bit of dead air to bring your listeners' attention back to the podcast. You see what I did there? So, all right, got it? 5 tips to make you a better podcast interviewer. Number 5, create space with silence. Let your podcast breathe. Number 4, edit. Number 3, represent your listener. That is huge. Number 2, don't interrupt. And number 1, shut up and listen with curiosity. Mastering these interviewing best practices will help you create a better and more powerful listening experience and start turning those listeners into fans who will then share your show with others. And I hope that's just the tip you need. Now, there are a lot more techniques I've shared on past episodes about being a great interviewer. If you want them in a nice little bundle, instead of searching through all my titles, I've created an episode binge list just for you. Grab your binge list for podcast interview skills by using the link in the show notes, and stay tuned for more binge lists to come. If you want more tools or personalized help to turn your podcast into a marketing machine for your business, check out my coaching packages at podcastperformancecoach.com. I'm Tim Wahlberg. See ya!